All right, my name is Ray Hanania. I do media for Bolingbrook, and I want to introduce our mayor, Mary Alexander-Basta, and the mayor is going to introduce the officials who are up here, and we'll read a statement, and we'll also have a statement from Bert Odelston, and we'll take some questions from reporters in the audience. So, Mayor?
Thank you, Ray. Good morning, everyone. We're very happy and thankful that you can all be here. Joining us today is Representative Natalie Manley, to my right, Senator Meg Capel, and Leader Dagmara Avalar, as well as Administrator Lucas Rickelman. Again, thank you all for being here today. Today, I'm not just here as the mayor of Bolingbrook, but as a resident and as a customer and an advocate for every family that is struggling to make ends meet. Illinois American Water has asked the Illinois Commerce Commission to approve a $134 million rate increase. This request comes after previous rate increases over the past decade of over $319 million. If approved, that would bring the total to approximately $453 million in additional rate increases in just the past 10 years. At some point, we have to ask, how much is enough? The parent company, American Water Works, reported more than $1.1 billion in net income in 2025. The key word here is net. Net meaning after all expenses were paid. Yet once again, customers are being asked to pay more. The question many residents are asking is simple. Why can't more of the investment in infrastructure and system improvement come from the company's profits rather than the pockets of the working families? Water is not a luxury. It's not a vacation. It's not a TV, and it's not a shopping trip that can be postponed. Water, electricity, and natural gas are essential services that every family needs to live with dignity, safety, and health. That is why utility companies have a different responsibility than ordinary retail businesses. Their mission should not only be to serve shareholders, but to provide safety, reliable, and affordable services to the people who have no choice but to be their customers. Illinois American Water customers in our community are paying an average of a $220 water bill every month. For many families, especially seniors on fixed incomes, middle-class households already facing rising costs of food, insurance, housing, education, these bills have become a serious financial burden. Residents deserve clear answers about why their rates are so high and why additional increases are necessary. They deserve transparency, accountability, and a process that truly considers the impact on everyday people. Citizens Utility Board, one of Illinois' leading consumer advocacy organization, has called Illinois American Water a rate hike machine. That phrase resonates with many residents who feel they are being asked to pay more year after year with little to no relief. That is why I'm calling on the Illinois Commerce Commission to fully consider the impact this proposed increase would have on families, not just in Bolingbrook, but throughout the region. I also respectfully invite and strongly encourage our governor and each of the Illinois Commerce Commissioners to attend the public hearing and hear directly from the people we all serve. There is no substitute for listening firsthand to the stories of working families, seniors, and residents who are struggling with the rising cost of essential utility services. On Tuesday, July 14th at 7 p.m., a public hearing on the proposed rate increase will be held in Bolingbrook at the Bolingbrook Community Center located at 2001 Canterbury Lane. The hearing is scheduled for 2.5 hours, and residents will have up to 3 minutes to share how these rising costs affect their household budgets and their daily lives. An administrative law judge will preside over the hearing and compile the public record for the Illinois Commerce Commission's consideration. Our residents deserve more than a written transcript. They deserve the opportunity to speak directly with the leaders responsible for protecting the public interest. I am also calling for the Illinois General Assembly to take a closer look at utility rate regulation and explore ways to strengthen consumer protections, increase transparency, and ensure that essential utility services remain affordable for middle-class families, seniors, and those living on fixed incomes. The issue is bigger than Bolingbrook. It affects communities all across Illinois. I want to be clear. I support the investments in infrastructure, safe and reliable water service. But there must be a balance between necessary improvements and the financial burden placed on the people who ultimately pay the bill. As mayor, I believe it is my responsibility to stand up for the residents that elected me to serve. When the cost of an essential service becomes increasingly difficult for families to afford, silence is no longer an option. Today, I am proud to stand with the residents and say, enough is enough. We need accountability, we need transparency, and we need a utility system that puts people first. Thank you so much. I would like to invite our attorney, Bert Odelson, to come and speak and share some facts of what he's working on. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. Here's the timeline. January 2024, Illinois American Water proposes a rate increase of $360 per year. July 2024, Bolingbrook has a public hearing on the rate increase. December of 2024, the ICC grants the rate increase. January 2025, Bolingbrook requests a rehearing before the ICC, denied. February 2025, Bolingbrook files an appeal to the Illinois Appellate Court. January 2026, a new application for another rate hike is filed by Illinois American Water. 4 days ago, we celebrated the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That declaration promised life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as does the Constitution of the state of Illinois. The public utility laws of our state require utility rates to be just and reasonable. I didn't make those words up. They're in our law. When there's only one game in town, Illinois American Water, and it raises rates, and the Illinois Commerce Commission allows the rate hike in 2025, and the only game in town asks for another substantial increase 1 year later, our citizens in Bolingbrook and throughout the state are endangered. Because without clean, affordable water, there can be no life, no liberty, and certainly no pursuit of happiness. The Village of Bolingbrook appealed last year's $20 plus a month increase. The appellate court hears our appeal the morning of July 14th. Ironically, the ICC scheduled our public hearing in Bolingbrook later the same day to hear the residents' voices on the second rate increase in less than 2 years. The citizens will turn out. They will tell the ICC how they struggle, those who are on fixed incomes, the elderly, the veterans. Will the ICC show up to the public hearing? None of the 5 ICC commissioners who make $197,000 a year came to our last public hearing. No one. How do you hear the people when you don't show up? When you don't look them in the eye, when you don't hear the anxiety and despair in their voices? We will see on July 14th. The village will continue to exhaust all legal remedies on behalf of our residents. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Lucas Rickelman to give you a little bit of background on some of infrastructure and a little history, because he's been here through it all.
Hi, thank you. The village of Bolingbrook, a little over 30 years ago, entered into a deal with Citizens Utilities to bring Lake Michigan water to the village of Bolingbrook. The reason for this was that the aquifers that the village were on were depleting, and we needed to find an alternate source. The deal with Citizens was necessary because the pipeline, we could not extend all the way to Lake Michigan. Therefore, we entered into an agreement with Citizens, but then they were shortly bought by Illinois American Water. Since Illinois American Water has taken over, they have constantly just increased rates at an unjustifiable rate. Was it right to go to Lake Michigan Water? Yes. Bolingbrook needed a long-term water supply. But had it been with Illinois American, we would have had to think longer and harder about it. Thank you.
So if anybody has any questions, just feel free to ask it, and we'll be happy to take any questions.
Mayor, I just want to hear what you're hearing from residents. What are people saying?
The residents are very upset. I mean, we're in a time right now where every penny counts, every dollar matters, and it's becoming unaffordable. I just had a resident yesterday that said, I have to literally make choices of what food I should buy to put in my refrigerator and feed kids and pay the utilities that are coming. And this isn't, the continuous rate hikes are, yes, Illinois American Water is extremely aggressive about it and constantly putting in for a new one every other year, but the other utilities are following suit as well. So this is a much bigger problem and something that needs attention, not yesterday and not tomorrow, but years ago, and we need to address it soon.
You mentioned the average water bill was $220, I believe.
Correct.
That, I think, is kind of mind-blowing. I had to look up my water bill to see what I'm paying.
I'm sure.
What I'm paying, I feel like is high, but not anywhere near 220. Can you tell me like what methods you used? Like how do you know that, or what you know?
I think, Lucas, we took a general from, we've actually had residents submit their bills to us, and we took an average, and it's based on usage, and the average household is at what, 3,500 gallons?
What we did is, if 45 gallons per month is the average usage per person, a family of 4, means you're using about 5,500 gallons a month. I then took that 5,500 gallons a month and then put it into what the Illinois American Water rate is, and that's how I calculated that out.
And just so you know, using the Illinois American Water metrics that they're looking at, they're using an average of 3,500. You just heard Lucas say it's an average of 55. But they're using an average of 3,500 gallons per month. If you take that and you multiply it by the 12 months, every resident could be faced with upwards of a $500 increase annually. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Do you have any idea of how much water bills were, say, 5 years ago versus 10 years ago versus today?
That would be him. He's the numbers guy.
Yeah, we could go back and get you those exact calculations, but on average, it seems like increases are 10 to 20% a year recently, but we can get you the exact calculations.
And our whole premise is, I was just telling this to my junior trustee here that's joining us for the summer. If you want to upgrade your home, if you want a bigger patio, whatever it is you want to do, any kind of upgrades or renewings or paints, what have you, you don't go to your boss or your employer and you say, I need more money because I want to make upgrades, or I need more money because I want to buy a new car. You work within your means. And that's all we're asking. We're asking that they work within their means to get their infrastructure to, there's a lot of federal and state requirements, initiatives that are unfunded mandates, even on municipalities. And we don't go to the residents and say, we have to raise your taxes. We know that this is not the time for that, so we work within our means. So it's okay if you don't make $1 billion profit for 1 year so that you can maintain and take care of your infrastructure. You don't have to put it on the backs of the consumers.
You talked about how you fought this fight before. I think you mentioned that it was 2024 most recently, so roughly 2 years, and you were ultimately shot down despite pursuing legal action. Do you have trust in the process that this time around will be different? And I'm curious why you think it is when you lay it out as simply as you put it, that the governing bodies here won't hear your argument and continue to grant rate increases.
That's why you guys are all here. It's become a public opinion, correct? So this is all 100% in the hands of the ICC. No one else. I can't do anything about it. The attorneys, even the legislators, really, there's, other than we change legislation, right? We could get to that point. But right now, it's 5 ICC commissioners that can say yes, and that can most definitely say no. And that's what we're looking for, accountability to say, no, you've asked, we've given, you've asked, we've given, now is not the time to ask, nor are we going to give. I really have faith in these commissioners because 2 of them were previously mayors. And I would imagine that they would understand what we currently as municipal leaders are being faced with today. That we need to cut back, we need to tighten our belts, we need to do everything we can for the residents. It is not the time right now to give a for-profit, publicly traded company more money to pad their pockets with.
And I asked you this before too, but are other municipalities joining you? It seems like you guys are very public in your fight as elected leaders here in Bolingbrook, but obviously this water company serves a lot more than just Bolingbrook.
Yes. So any municipality that is serviced by Illinois American Water should be doing the same thing. We have Lyle, Homer Glen is even worse than we are because they're further down. So their issues are even greater, and I'm sure their costs are even more. But any municipality, village, city that uses Illinois American Water should really be jumping on this bandwagon.
Is there any pending legislation that might be able to help? I know you've got several lawmakers here.
I'm going to let the legislators speak to that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dee.
Thank you, everybody. There is pending legislation, and it's been pending for years because we've been trying to work on it. What we are trying to do, and this is something that was not talked about, but there's definitely an issue when you have the cost of how many gallons you use versus all the pass-through charges, right? That it takes to get water into your community, and that is part of what's raising the cost. So we're actively looking into how do we regulate that too. Thank you.
Would you say it's spelling it?
Yes, Dagmara Velar, State Representative, 85th District.
We have any other questions from anyone? We could do one-on-ones later as well. But thank you all for joining us today. This is something that's very near and dear to myself, our board, the residents of Bolingbrook, and we're not giving up. It's a shame that we have to spend so much of our time and our efforts and our money defending something that is just, and the lawyers that they have, I mean, they have a whole buffet of lawyers that come. We can't afford that. We can't beat that. So we need the ICC to step up and help the residents of the state of Illinois. Thank you so much.